Hello, everyone. Welcome to the PI Playbook Podcast, a show where I get inside the huddle with successful personal injury law firms to discuss strategies on how they win in the courtroom and how they win in business. I'm really excited for today's conversation. I'm joined by Josh Schmerling, a partner at Zirkin and Schmerling. Josh, thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Josh, give us a brief introduction on who you are and what you do in terms of the law firm and as well as LawPro.ai.
Yeah, sure. So I'll take you back to kind of the beginning as I became a lawyer. I graduated law school back in 2008. When I graduated law school, the market was terrible. Nobody was hiring. We were in the country was in a financial crisis. The couple of job offers I had were paying very little money. And I just decided it made more sense for me to start my own practice than work for pennies for somebody else. It turns out when my first year of my own practice, I made even less than I was offered from other people. But eventually we built the practice, my partner and I. And so over years, we've built a practice. We have about 40 employees now. And we're a very busy PI and workers' comp law firm throughout the state of Maryland with a couple of locations, about 7 lawyers total, and a number of staff. As we were growing the law firm, trying to grow the law firm, we figured out we had a pain point, and our pain point was understanding how to deal with medical records. And it was a huge pain point for us for a number of reasons. We were acting too slow because it was taking us too long to understand the medical records. We also had our top people, our top paralegals reading medical records all day long, and we knew there was a better use of their time. So in that need, I co-founded a AI company, LawPro.ai, with my brother, Jeremy Schmerling, who's CEO of the company. And basically what LawPro.ai does is it takes all the medical records for a personal injury firm, workers' comp firm, anybody that deals with injury claims, could be Social Security disability. And we take all the medical records and we create file summaries, case summaries, medical chronologies. We create documents, whether it's demand letters, causal relationship letters, bad faith letters. We help you negotiate with insurance companies, help you answer discovery, help you do depositions, all those things using AI. And by implementing that into our practice a couple of years ago, the practice has just taken off tremendously. And we've been able to readjust people's time. So we have not, the one question I get all the time is, have we gotten rid of employees? Which we haven't. We've actually added employees because now what we're able to do is really focus in on the client. And so all of my case managers and pre-lit paralegals, they now, instead of having to read medical records all day long, they really can spend their time speaking to the client, finding out how the client's treatment's going, how the client is doing. So we have a lot more points of contact with the clients, which gets us more and more referrals than ever before. So we have more client referrals than ever before, which has made us a busier and bigger practice. And then some of my top paralegals that I mentioned before, they now help run my office because they're not reading medical records all day long. So one's my director of operations. And then the other one is head of all trainings in my office and in charge of our whole pre-lit team. So it's allowed us to really get rid of some of the bumps that we were having, some of the issues that we were having in terms of growth, and also allowed our employees to work on higher level things that are more important for our clients.
That's interesting, Josh. So, yeah, I remember over a decade ago when I was first starting out, I was at a workers' comp defense firm, and I would get handed a stack of 6 to 10,000 pages worth of medical records. Hey, give me a medical chronology on that, and it was just, don't get me wrong, we could bill for it on the defense side, but then when I switched sides and represented injured workers and injured people, like, you can't bill for that time, and it's got to be done, and it was such a draining task. So I'm curious, Josh, is this something that you guys kind of built and implemented into your own practice initially because you saw the need?
Yeah. What we did first is we decided we are going to start this company. We hired one engineer and started working on it to see if we would be able to even get this started. I mean, we started this right before the whole ChatGPT and everything else came out. Just so everyone knows, we don't use ChatGPT at all for what we do. Um, but we first wanted to see if this was even possible. We didn't know if it would be possible at first. And once we realized it was, I was the first test subject, and we implemented it into my firm. And then we saw it was incredibly helpful. And frankly, we started realizing that not only was it helpful, but my paralegals would never want to go back the other way. They'd never want to have to sit down and read medical records all day now that they realize there's no need for that now. And so once we noticed that, we then started, a small test beta group, and then we went live with the product back in May of 2024.
Okay. So May of 24. So just a year and a half ago, basically, is by the time you launched the product.
Correct. That's right. And since that time, we're now working with hundreds of firms throughout the country, some of the biggest firms in the country, all the way down to small, solo and solo shops.
Very nice. So, Josh, what does that look like in your specific day to day life? Like, how are you balancing the two worlds of actively managing a PI firm, a busy firm, and taking on this new kind of tech startup using the AI?
Yeah, so I was concerned about that last year. That was going to be a big challenge for us last year in 2025 because I was really starting to work full time and go all in with LawPro at that point. And so my director of operations, who was a former paralegal of mine, she really took over managing the office and has done a phenomenal job. Where in 2025 the growth of the firm continued. We didn't go back a step at all. I had previously before then been the lawyer in our office settling the most cases, handling the most cases. And I basically extracted myself out of most of that. And our director of operations did an amazing job that we continue to grow as a law firm, which allowed me to really focus on LawPro. And so I spend a lot of my time now meeting with other law firms, talking about how to implement AI, the importance of AI. I go to a lot of different conferences, speak at conferences. I'm speaking at one in, I'm on a panel on one in New Orleans in a couple weeks. And so I spend most of my time now on LawPro, and I handle a few select cases here and there. I did a jury trial in November. I did a mediation yesterday that we got an excellent result on. So at the end of the day, I love being a lawyer. So I still do and handle a couple of cases here and there, but most of my time is spent on LawPro.
So, when you and your brother first started building this Law Pro platform, it sounds like the reviewing voluminous medical records was the specific pain point that you were trying to address. Has there been any other sort of areas that have kind of revealed themselves now that you've gotten more into the Law Pro side of things that you guys have been able to kind of find and tailor a solution for?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there, you know, at first it was just understanding medical records, so you'd understand what to demand and how much to demand. Then you got to get into how you're going to write that demand, which LawPro does for you. The next step in the case, obviously, is to make sure, you know, how do you negotiate with the insurance company? So we have found that LawPro has often been very helpful for our clients because we can help clients in real time as they're speaking to the adjuster negotiate the case and give counterpoints. So an adjuster tells you, the case is only worth X because there's a gap in treatment, there's no objective findings of injury, the pain scores don't make sense, whatever the reason, you can type into LawPro and get counterpoints in real time. And we have seen law firms and lawyers be able to increase case values when adjusters have said, we're going no higher, this is it, take it or leave it, that LawPro will give some additional arguments that'll be different to the adjuster than what they maybe had missed or hadn't heard before, and will increase case values. Um, we've also have seen that LawPro has been really helpful in answering discovery. It's been really helpful in doing cross examination and of experts, like the medical experts, and also doing your own medical experts. So for me, as a lawyer, I can tell you that for me to do a cross examination of a defense medical expert used to take me hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it would take. Now it's done in 15 or 20 minutes. LawPro gives me my full outline, gives me a lot of the questions to ask. I just supplement it. Same thing with it when I do my own direct of my medical expert. Same kind of deal. It used to take me hours. Now it takes about 15, 20 minutes. So cuts down a ton of time and frankly helps me do it better. The first time I used LawPro to do a cross examination of a defense expert, I was nervous about it. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And it went amazingly well to the point where the first time ever in my career, the defense lawyer called me right afterwards and she said, I want a mediation. I was like, yeah, my paralegals talk to your paralegal. She's like, no, no, I'm not getting off the call until we have a mediation date set right now. So it did great, great stuff. And then some of the things that I also kind of left off in the beginning is we help as the client's going through the treatment process. So we pull all different event types as we get medical records into our system and we integrate with a number of case management softwares. So as the medical records are coming into that case management software, they're being pulled into LawPro automatically. And when some of the event types we pull out are, medication or referrals. And so it makes it really easy for the paralegal or case manager to understand, did this client follow up on that referral? If not, we need to find out why And we need to fix that because in real time, if you fix it, it can really help the case. It can help the client in terms of getting better and make sure they're getting better. It can make sure that the case stays strong. But if the client misses a referral and then they don't get better, and 5 months later they suddenly want to go to that referral, it can be less advantageous for the client's health, and it can obviously hurt the case. So that's just one example is how we can help even from the very beginning of the case to make sure the client's getting the treatment that they need to get themselves better, which also helps the case hand in hand.
Interesting. So just to kind of double click on the expert deposition preparation, what does that look like in real time? Are you just kind of typing in and say, "Hey, help me prepare for a cross examination of Doctor X," and then it kind of combs through the medical records and presents you kind of an outline of questions to ask that doctor?
Yeah, so there's two different kinds of depositions with medical experts. Some are on video, and you just play that video for the jury. They have that in most states, and sometimes people bring experts live. So when it's done on video, what a lot of our firms will do is they will ask Law Pro questions in terms of, what did the defense doctor not include in his report that he should have? What is it that he got wrong in his report based on all the medical treatment? And then ask Law Pro, all right, give me 20 questions to cross examine the doctor with based on that subject area. And Law Pro will give it to you. Or you could ask Law Pro, just give me a full outline to cross examine the defense doctor with, and it will. And then you can double click on some of those areas, say, hey, give me more questions about this, or give me more questions about that. That's for kind of a video. Or it could be live also. The really nice thing about live, if they come in live also, is you could use Law Pro in the courtroom. So I just spoke to an attorney yesterday, actually, who he just won a big verdict here in Maryland, over $1 million, which in Maryland we have pain and suffering caps and everything else. So that's a big verdict here in Maryland. And he said to me in court, the defense expert was testifying about things that he had never heard of before, and he immediately went into Law Pro and started asking questions of Law Pro, and that was his cross was based on that, and he attributed a large part of his verdict to what he was able to do live in the courtroom with Law Pro to really cross examine that defense expert and hurt the defense expert's credibility.
Yeah, so it still requires a skilled litigator to kind of handle it. So many people are concerned about, AI taking people's jobs and things like that. It seems like this Law Pro, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like it's a very helpful tool in an otherwise already effective litigator's tool belt so that they can do their job better and more efficiently, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, if you've never tried a case before, you don't know how to try a case, or you don't know how to set up the question properly, and if you're a lawyer that doesn't understand what I mean by that, how to set up the question, then you probably need some more help in terms of your litigation experience and knowledge. You need to know how to do those things if you're going to be a litigator. It's not going to turn a lawyer who's never tried a jury trial before into the most amazing jury trial lawyer, but it's going to really take a lawyer who knows what they're doing in the courtroom, and it's going to amplify their capabilities.
Yeah, you've still got to know the right questions to even ask Law Pro to get kind of at the root of what you need to be prepared.
Yeah, and that's on the litigation aspect. Now, on the pre-lit aspect, right? It doesn't matter what kind of a lawyer you are. You're just speaking to adjusters, and Law Pro will literally hand feed you all the arguments to make with the adjuster to increase case values. It will hand feed you issues to think and spot in the case. So it's, we pull out pre-existing conditions, we pull out red flags. So it's going to pull out those issues for you. So even if you're not a very experienced lawyer, or if you are an experienced lawyer, it's going to help you really understand those things immediately, so you can negotiate best with the insurance company and get the best case value in pre-lit.
So, a lot of kind of legal tech gets built by people who've never built an hour or taken a client call. Is there anything that you've built into Law Pro that kind of only makes sense because you've been in the trenches as a practicing attorney?
Yeah, I think everything in Law Pro, basically. I mean, what we've done at Law Pro is, and it's not just myself. Obviously, I'm a practicing lawyer. I'm a trial lawyer. I very much enjoy being a trial lawyer. I like being in court, and Law Pro is built a lot on thoughts I have and how you move a case forward. But we have a lot of other clients, and not every law firm works the same way. Different law firms have different policies and procedures and the way they look at things. So I might value a case based on certain things, and another law firm bases it on different aspects of the case. So what we've done is we've worked with a number of different law firms throughout the country to make sure we really understand what's important to them. The other thing that we've done is we recently collaborated with Morgan and Morgan to do a questionnaire And we ended up getting results from hundreds of law firms throughout the country, understanding what was important to them. And so, based on all this information, is how we continue to build out our product and our platform, and we'll continue to do so. So, we basically are listening to what the legal market has to say, what's important, and we continue to move forward with that. And started with my office, and now has grown tremendously since then.
So obviously, personal injury and workers' compensation type of cases you mentioned, as far as being compatible with LawPro, or LawPro was built for those type of cases. Are there any other practice areas where LawPro makes sense to implement into a firm?
Yeah, any kind of a case where there are medical records, basically. So it could be Social Security disability, could be medical malpractice, birth injury cases, um, anywhere in that realm of when you're dealing with medical records. If you're someone that needs to deal with medical records, then that's our sweet spot right there.
So when you talk to other attorneys about adopting some of these AI tools, what is the most common objection or hesitation that you hear, and how do you typically respond to that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When we first started LawPro.ai, the initial lawyers, paralegals were saying, I don't need AI. My law firm's been around forever. We do things differently than other firms. We don't need this. We're fine as is. That was the initial objection that we had when we first went to market. Since then, I think everyone has basically gotten on the AI train, that they understand that you either are going to get on this, or you're not going to have much of a firm left down the road. And so, what I say to people is it's similar to when people went from a typewriter to a PC. If your law firm stayed using typewriters, good luck staying in business. And that's the same kind of thing that we're looking at. The vast majority of law firms that we've polled are all using AI. Now it's a different different law firms. It's a matter of to what extent and how they've implemented it. But the majority of law firms throughout the country in the personal injury space are using AI at this point. So that's less of an objection. More of the objection that you get nowadays is, well, I'm still getting pushback from my staff. I'm not sure that they want it. Or, I'm not sure that I want to spend the money on it. Or, I don't have time to implement this right now. Those are more of the objections. I think at the end of the day, the vast majority of law firm owners understand that this is a necessity, and it's not a if we're going to get involved with AI with our law firm. It's when and how fast and how do we implement it. One mistake that a lot of law firms make is they say, all right, we're just going to go pay for this AI, and we're going to have this new platform to use, and boom, magically everything's going to work better. And that's not the case, right? You still have to have policies and procedures and how it's going to be used and when it's going to be used, and what's going to be the best way for each firm to use the technology. So that still has to be done. And if you don't have some kind of game plan around that, then you probably won't be successful with any technology you implement, whether it's AI or anything else, right? Everything needs to come with policies, procedures, how it's going to be used so the firm can use it effectively.
So do you instruct the firm on how to set up those policies and procedures, or do you leave that up to them? Do you give them resources to say, here's what we recommend, or how do you handle that?
Yeah, so every firm works a little bit differently in terms of how they look at things, right? Some firms like to write very specific demand letters, some like to write general demand letters. Some have less contact with clients, some have more contact with clients. Every firm kind of works differently. Some firms are heavy pre-lit, some are heavy lit. So they all work a little bit differently. What we do at LawPro is we make sure to do a full onboarding session with the firm. And with bigger firms, it means multiple onboarding sessions. Sometimes we go there live, sometimes we do it on Zoom, and we provide customer success throughout your entire time as a client with LawPro. So what that means is you can have as much training as you want. So every time a new person starts working at your firm, you don't have to train them personally. LawPro will take that on and train them for you, so you don't have to do that. So we spend a lot of time training on the platform, I think, is number one. Number two, we try to also understand our customers. Are you a customer that's really focused on litigation? If you are, let's really talk through discovery and depositions and how to use this for trial. If you're a firm that really focuses on pre-lit, let's really talk about the best ways to use LawPro to help with your pre-litigation. And so those are conversations we have with our customers all the time. And the fact that they get, as much support as they want, it allows them to also ask us questions. Hey, what do you guys think about this? Or is there a better way to do this? Or could you write this letter for us differently? Or could you do this? One of the really cool things we came out with recently is we have the ability for law firms to have specific documents drafted for them automatically without even having to touch a button or ask a thing. Just it automatically will go through the documents uploaded to LawPro and create a Word document for you. That document could be some kind of a pleading for a court, or it could be some kind of a pre-lit document like a demand or a internal memo of a case summary. It could be lots of things. But we have now created this ability to have Word documents created for law firms automatically so that every one of their cases conforms to this and has the same exact documents pre-done on every case. And so that's just another feature that we've added to our firms based on, what we've heard from people.
I want to go back to the tool that you mentioned earlier about kind of live assistance with negotiation with an adjuster. So, do you have the agent that's actually kind of on the call, or is it like a how does that work exactly? Or I mean, is the lawyer typing in to Law Pro as they get this, kind of counter demand from an adjuster, or how does that work?
So yeah, so it can work in multiple ways. So one thing I would suggest is before you even get on the call with the adjuster, just quickly type into LawPro, what are the value drivers in this case? And it will give you a list, and it'll be really specific. The way lawyers used to negotiate cases, they would say, oh, well, there's 6 weeks of treatment and they got an MRI and here's what the MRI showed. But using LawPro's help, you can get really into the nitty gritty, which does two things. Number one, it tells the adjuster that you really understand this case, and if they don't make a fair offer, you're ready to file suit. And number two, it allows the adjuster. Some adjusters need this, some don't, but allows them to try to save face. If they told you it was their top, and they're not going any higher, but now you have all this information to talk through with them. It allows you for them to say, oh, you know what, I didn't consider this. I'll give you some more money. But then also, so you can do that before you even start negotiations, but in the middle of negotiations, you can type stuff and you'll have answers almost immediately. So as an adjuster is telling you about issues, they'll go on and on sometimes. There's this thing here and blah, 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 and this thing there. And you can just type in quickly, and within 5-10 seconds, you'll have an answer to that issue that they're bringing up. So it can work both ways.
That's interesting. Um, Looking at where LawPro.ai is now versus kind of where you want it to be in the next 12 to 18 months, what is the capability or set of capabilities or integrations that you're most focused on unlocking next?
Yeah. So there's a lot of them is the answer. Um, different law firms have different pain points. Your pain point might be intakes. Your pain point might be getting, your mail or your documents to the right place. Um, for the vast majority of PI law firms and workers' comp, it's understanding the medical records. And so, there's different people out there trying to do different things in this space. What we're focused on is going really deep on dealing with medical records, bills, and helping that whole process become seamless for law firms. So there's a lot of things coming up in 2026 for us that will continue to help with that, and also auto-generate some of these documents to help law firms. And we're going to just dig deeper and deeper with this to really make that experience of dealing with all these voluminous records as simple as possible.
Very good. Does LawPro assist with like requesting medical records and bills and that sort of thing?
So we're starting that now in 2026. So that'll be started in Q1 of 2026, where we'll be helping with that in terms of acquiring medical records and bills for law firms and have it automatically upload to LawPro for the firms. So yep, that's something we're dealing with. We're starting to deal with some of the medical providers so they can automatically upload also to LawPro, so firms will have it in there. So yeah, we're trying to take away all of the issues that people have, all the pain points people have as it relates to medical records and billing.
For a personal injury attorney listening to this episode right now that's reluctant to start implementing AI or wants to continue kind of to do things with a more personal feel, what kind of advice do you have to them in terms of if they want to continue to have a thriving practice moving forward into the future, and they're currently reluctant on implementing AI? What type of things would you say to that type of attorney?
Well, I'd say first of all, you got to see what your pain points are, and then that's what you should be building up and getting the technologies for, whatever your pain points are. Second, understand, at least in my opinion, there's certain things in AI that I want to be early on, and certain things on AI I don't. And I don't think we're early anymore. This was maybe something 6 months ago or a year ago. It's just moving so fast now. But for sure, medical records is something you want to get in on now because it's not taking away. You're not making it less personal. You're actually helping the law firm becoming more personal with your clients. because you can talk more specifics and your paralegals and your team will have more time to speak to your clients. So it actually allows the law firm to really focus in more on the clients, not less. And at the end of the day, law firms, they miss value driving points and negative things that hurt the case in the medical records all the time. Law firms, lawyers, paralegals like to think that we're perfect and that we don't miss things. But now, having used AI to help with this, it's clear that things do get missed. And so you can't afford that as a law firm owner, and your client shouldn't have to have something missed because you refuse to use technology. So, and at the end of the day, if you don't start using technology to build out your practice won't be around. It just won't. You won't be able to grow. You won't be able to turn over cases as fast as you need to. You won't have the extra revenue of increased case values to be able to put the marketing in. To acquire cases nowadays is more expensive than ever. The cost of acquisitions through the roof. And so to be able to get cases done faster for higher case values, which LawPro helps you do, you need to have that edge so you can keep up with how much it's costing to acquire customers. And so there is really no that if you want to be in business and be a growing firm, there's no other solution other than moving forward with technology.
That's well said. So you mentioned some things about you'd rather be kind of later on as far as implementing AI. What are some of those things?
Yeah. So, some of the things I think you have to think about are, you have to look at voice, right? So some of the voice products out there are really good right now and getting better. And some of the voice products out there are not so good, in my opinion. Um, and so are people ready yet for voice? Some of the products you can very easily tell it's AI voice. Some of the products you can't tell. Um, and you have to think through, will a potential client hang up the phone if they hear an AI voice? Are people ready for that yet or not? That's an assessment law firm owners have to make, and you have to make sure you're looking at some of the right companies for that. In terms of some of the good ones out there that are doing it. Eventually, we're all going to be there. I mean, we're all going to be on AI voice, and everyone's going to be used to it. But I think a lot of people aren't used to it right now. And so that's something we're still testing in my office right now. We've been testing AI voice back and forth to kind of see what the market would tell us about that. And some days we hear it seems like great things from customers, and some days it seems like, oh, we missed the mark there. So we're still kind of testing and looking in that. That's one example.
Yeah. And I think that's a good example. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was, you go order something at McDonald's and you're not talking to a human. And so I think in the next, I don't know, 2 to 5 years, it'll be the absolute exception that you're not talking to an AI bot, at least at the initial contact point. And for firms, I think the important thing to hone in on is that your client doesn't want to be sitting on a ringtone left unanswered for any longer than 2 rings, and they're probably gonna start getting agitated if they wanna get in touch with you. So, having that AI, even if it's an AI voice, it's so at least somebody answers the call and can get them routed into somebody that can handle their situation.
Oh, there's a ton that AI voice can do that's super helpful. That you can make them as empathetic as you want. They don't need to take breaks or go to the bathroom or get tired. You don't have to worry about if they're exhausted from a lot of intakes that day. You don't have to worry about if they had a bad day. Will they take it on a potential client? Right? There's a ton of positives with AI voice that certainly are going to change things. And what's crazy, what I think about all the time, and this really blows my mind, is today the way AI is the worst technology it's ever going to be in our lifetime. So it's never going to be worse than today. And imagine what it's going to be like in a year or 2 years from now. It's really hard for me to even picture because I think it's just going to just really continue to grow tremendously. I mean, think about it. A couple of years ago, nobody ever heard of ChatGPT, right? And now they got to, I think 10 billion ARR in less than half the time of Google. So it's the growth now and the expectations now and the technology now are faster and better than at any other point in our life, and it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, so let's see here. Thinking about kind of firms or attorneys who are getting the most out of Law Pro AI right now, are you seeing any sort of patterns? Are you seeing anything that sort of separates them from some others that may not be getting the most out of your product at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So firms that really integrate the platform are getting the most out of it. So, you have to make it part of a process and procedure. So what most of our firms that are doing that are really successful with it are doing is they're having us involved in every case. meaning either during the client's medical treatment in real time or before the demand goes out. So that way, there's an exact policy and procedure on every case to make sure that the client's going and getting the right treatment, and make sure you understand the valuation of the case, and make sure you're saying the right demand amount, and to have it just as part of the steps as you move through the case through the life cycle. Those are the firms that are getting the most out of us. Firms that are trying to use us for one off here or one off there. Most of our customers are not like that, but it's gonna be really hard to do because it's really hard to explain to a paralegal which cases should go in versus which cases shouldn't. And the way that we bill, it really doesn't matter to be putting your whole caseload in because we just charge a monthly fee. And so it makes sense for you to really integrate us. And the firms that have found a tremendous amount of success versus the firms that try to use us on one-offs here and there, which again is the huge minority of firms in our business. But the ones that really implement us have found the most success. And then giving the policies and procedures to their team. This is what I want you to pull from LawPro. I want this document done. I want this internal memo done. I want, negotiating strategies done, whatever it is, so everyone can be on the same page of understanding how to use the platform.
What sort of pain points or growing pains are you guys having at LawPro right now?
So, the biggest thing for us is trying to hire enough salespeople. Um, it's always, I think that's the toughest part of most businesses, hiring the right people. And so we're always looking to hire good salespeople. We've recently made a couple of additions. We're always looking to make others. Um, that's probably our biggest pain point right now is just making sure we continue to build out our sales team. We've moved really fast in a short period of time, and we need to continue that speed. And I would say that's always a pain point in my law firm. Also, we had a meeting this morning in my office where there's additional paralegals we need to hire and intake. We need to hire intake, pre-lit, litigation paralegals all right now. And all of 2025, by the way, we were also hiring for all those positions, and we did hire for all those positions. We just need to hire more now. So I think you know people are the backbone of many businesses, and hiring good people is how you're going to make your business successful. And so for both LawPro and my law firm, that's a big challenge for us in 2026.
Where can people find out more about you, your firm, and the business that you've built at lawpro.ai?
Yeah, sure. So the website for LawPro is lawpro.ai. My email is josh@lawpro.ai, LAWPRO.ai. And that's the best place to reach me.
Very good. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast. We appreciate your openness and willingness to share kind of the insights that you guys have revealed. I
Yeah.
appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot for having me, Adam. This was great. Really appreciate it.